On today's show, things have officially gone from bad to worse. The LA Clippers lose the second game in their back-to-back homestand before the 5-game road trip ahead to the extremely shorthanded Dallas Mavericks. Are they even a good team? Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA, been a Clipper fan for 21 years, been covering the team on my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for 6 and 4 right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. On the road to 8,000 subscribers on YouTube, and you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com. Ladies and gentlemen of Clipper Nation and around the world, it is, sound the alarm, panic time. Beyond any sort of, nothing is hyperbolic anymore. We can talk about the Mavericks. We can talk about the Grizzlies. We can talk about the Sacramento Kings and how disappointing all these teams have been. But there is no question that we are the most disappointing team in basketball. We were predicted by people like the clown that you're listening to right now to be a top 3 seed or top 4 or 5 seed. I said the thing, I think I literally made a comment, and I don't know how I could be so naive. So I really got to take all the slander that comes my way when it comes to, I've always said I'm not great at predictions, but I'm only proving myself right with that because of how wrong I was with this. I think I said things along the lines of, I don't see how we missed the playoffs entirely. My goodness. I'm going to be talking about the sad realization I had in this game after the Dallas Mavericks loss, the role players and how little they're giving us, and then big picture of what's going on in the short term and the long term. Guys, Clipper Nation, I went into this game I'm very chill, ever since the 2023-24 season. I really haven't had any hope. I said blow it up after 2023, so I haven't really had any hope. Even the 26-5 stretch, you can go back to those episodes that I was doing for Locked On, and I kept saying, should I believe? Should I believe? So I was never, I never really believed in the vision, ever since we, really when we got Westbrook as a panic move. Yeah, I would say since the middle of that season, since we got Westbrook as a panic move and then got Harden, I'm like, yeah, it's just, we're not winning a championship with this era. We got to just blow it up. This game was particularly hard to stomach because I figured, going into the game as neutral. Well, I obviously want the Clippers to win, but as carefree, win or lose, I still get to make content. It doesn't matter for me. I felt like if we lose this game, you're going to start seeing people really question if this should continue much longer. And by this, I mean this era of Clipper basketball that I have loathed so greatly. The toughest part of watching this game for me, and by the way, beautiful city edition court, it didn't even feel like we played that badly. And we lost still to a Dallas Maverick team. And mind you, yeah, we're missing DJ, right? We're missing Bogey. Obviously, Beal's out for the year. Kawhi is still being held to a minutes restriction where he can't play 30 minutes. But Dallas is missing PJ Washington, Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, and Daniel Gafford. And we still found a way to lose in a way that did not feel like, oh my God, how did we lose? It felt like, yep, that kind of sums up this season. That's kind of, by the way, I'm going to wear a hood till we win a game. That's my new rule right now. I'm going to wear a different Clipper hoodie with the hood on until we win. 114-110 is the final. It wasn't a bad start, just like the Memphis game. 28-25 in the first, outscored them 28-24 in the second. But I remember going into halftime, and I said it in my vlog, which is now out on my Dime Dropper channel, and a lot of Clipper fans, expressed their frustration after the game. So I think you got to check that out if you're interested in hearing the local scene. But as far as this local fan, yours truly, I was going into halftime saying, okay, we're up 7. That's still a little nervy. Cooper Flagg was making all his mid-ranges, and I watched like the first 11 or so chunks of every single Mavericks game, at least 10 minutes worth of every single Mavericks game of those first 11 games, some in full. And Cooper Flagg's jumper was the biggest part of his game that just hadn't come in yet. So him, hitting those shots, I think that was part of the scouting report, and he just happened to have the best game of his career so far. Although, well, actually, best scoring game because he might have done some other things in other games that I didn't see. 35 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists on 13 for 22 shooting and 9 for 11 from the free throw line. He was having his way and making some spectacular plays, which, I've been big on Cooper Flagg since I saw how big he was in Las Vegas, like how big of a dude he was. And, I think he's going to be a great player. I just think the jumper is something he's got to work on, but it was falling. And then the Klay Thompson thing, again, Klay's, he's hot and cold. And when he gets hot, he can still get hot. And I honestly don't think there was still some attention to detail missing there. Like Chris Dunn, again, over helping off of the guy who's just made several threes, looking for a potential steal or deflection. Klay Thompson hit 6 threes. He had 23 points in the game. 8 for 13 from the field, 6 for 10 from 3. My realization was this. We're not a good team. I know we're missing DJ and I know we're missing Bogey, and I don't even count Beal anymore. And yes, the minutes restriction. That hurt us because, again, Kawhi Leonard tried to come in with 3 minutes left, and he shouldn't have even had to come out in that fourth quarter, especially when we're so desperate for a win. And he looked fine. He looked great again, which is the sad part. 30 points in this game, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. So he's starting to look, just 2 turnovers. He's starting to look more like himself. His passing is sus, though, I can't lie. For a star, 30 points on 10 for 20 shooting, 3 for 4 from 3, and made all 7 of his free throws. Like, this guy and he had some good defensive moments, too, one-on-one, particularly against Cooper Flagg when he pressured him and made him lose the ball. 30 points in 29 minutes. We're starting to see Kawhi Leonard look like Kawhi Leonard. We got 29 out of James Harden, albeit the efficiency wasn't there, and there was some turnovers from James we're going to talk about, but we're getting 59 points out of our best 2 players, and we still can't win the game because, we've had a minutes restriction. Kawhi has not really been fully healthy that much this season, which is the story of the 6 years that we've had him active. James Harden can turn the ball over sometimes. You're not gonna get a great night from him every time, or and that's the sad part. Do you need a great night from James Harden, even with Kawhi Leonard? Yes, he's on a minutes restriction, but even with Kawhi Leonard and Zoo healthy, to beat this Dallas Maverick team? Consistent theme of we can't make outside shots. The open threes that we get, our role players are not hitting them consistently. Chris Paul consistently is bad on both ends of the floor. He doesn't make shots, and he doesn't defend. He can't defend anymore. Zubac's consistently, this season. And us, not great this season. We can't sustain a stretch of more than 1 quarter of good basketball on both ends of the floor, it seems. The things that we saw in this game, it was nothing new. There were some positives. That's the sad part. There were some positives. I can think of more positives than negatives, and we still lost the game. Because in my opinion, the negatives aren't even negatives. They're just what this team is. We're not a good 3-point shooting team. Without Derrick Jones, we already weren't looking like a very good defensive team before Derrick Jones Jr. got hurt, but now we're really even worse defensively. Nico Batum, he's just getting older. I still think, for example, in this game, 0 points. 0 for 4 from the field, and all his shots were threes. 4 rebounds, 1 steal, 2 turnovers. You saw some rim protection stuff from Nico, but he's obviously going to lose a little bit of a step guarding the ball. He's obviously going to lose a little bit of a step when it comes to everything because he's old. But I still think he's serviceable. And again, he started the season shooting poorly. He had a recent stretch of a couple of games where he started shooting better from 3. He was 0 for 4 in this game. I think he's going to still have a stretch where he makes sure that his average for the season for shooting threes is going to be like 38, 37%. He is who he is at this point. The bigger disappointments have been Chris Paul, the fact that Bogey's hurt, and then you have Kobe Brown, who in my opinion, like our 3-point percentage is not going to get better with Kobe Brown playing. He's not shown to be a reliable three-point shooter in his young career, unfortunately. He was 1 for 4 from deep in this game. And as a bench, they shot 1 for 9 from three. As a team, we shot 7 for 25 from three. That's 28%. We shot 46% from the field to the Mavs 44, so we actually shot better than them from the field. And they actually shot the same percentage as us from three, 28%, but they took 14 more shots and made 4 of them. So I honestly don't even think the three-point shot was the big difference in this game, but the turnovers, they only turned the ball over 8 times. We turned the ball over 18 times. 9 times for them. I'm sorry. We turned the ball over 18 times and they scored 20 points off our turnovers, and 7 of those turnovers came from James Harden. He had 13 turnovers in the last 2 games in this homestand, which is way too much. And it was a lot of just very careless passes, lofted up in the air, just way too big of a risk to be taken in situations where we're in a kind of a must-win. We're in must-win territory at this point. But yeah, and like falling off in the second half, getting outscored by 11 points in the second half, starts in the third quarter, getting outscored 34-27. I mean, I didn't see anything that was out of the ordinary. Cooper Flagg was making contested shots. We were careless with the ball. Like that's the big thing. We got to be. But am I going to put all the blame on James Harden? Like he's not going to be perfect every night. And then John Collins, for how he had a very good offensive game, 21 points on 90% shooting, 9 for 10, 1 for 2 from three, made both his free throws, 4 boards, 1 assist, 3 blocks, 1 turnover. You saw in the first half when we get stops and we get John Collins out and running, and he sometimes is, cross-matched against a smaller guy in transition. That's where he can be really effective because he's an athlete. He wants to get out and run. He can jump, catch lobs. In the half court, he's not as great because you're asking him to dribble more and work more, kind of in isolation. Sometimes, and then his open threes have just not been falling for us this season. But you love to see that. The only thing is he just can't really move his feet with anybody quick So even when the fullest version of this team, let's say we had Beal or whatever, Collins switching 1 through 4, like he still would have been the weak link next to James. I'd say James and him would be the weak links in that starting lineup next to one of the point of attack guys, Kawhi and Zoo. But my conclusion was we're not good. It didn't feel anything. Nothing was out of the ordinary. Zubats had 19 points on 8 for 12 shooting and 11 rebounds and 4 assists, and we still lost. We still lost with Harden, Kawhi, and Zoo scoring a combined 78 points. But coming up, going to be talking about the role guys and why, and just analyzing their performances, why they've been so bad, and also what this really means. This loss really means to me and other fans. I got to tell you a little something about Prize Picks. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. The holiday season is one of the best times for sports. Bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while we're all making choices every day, one of the most fun places to make the right call is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, fast, and available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Creating a lineup takes less than a minute, and the app makes the whole process smooth and intuitive. Intuit? Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. All right, Clipper Nation, we lose this one 114-110 to the Dallas Mavericks, get outscored by 11 points in the second half, 65-54. Again, I do still think, and you might think I'm making excuses, I do still think a little bit of this is bad luck. We're just playing against guys and certain teams that are just shooting above what they normally shoot. And yes, our defense is part of that, but I'm telling you, some of these shots, I'm just like, what the hell is going on? And I do think we might see some regression. I've been saying that for a couple of games, but I really do. But you know what can help is our offense being better. I think the offense is a bigger problem because then our defense sets and we're trash in transition. Speaking of which, let's talk about some of these role guys, right? We went 9 deep. Didn't play Brook Lopez again. I think we need to play a secondary big. The John Collins at the 5, it's less about John Collins being at the 5 and more about we don't have the point of attack defense to have John Collins be the center, meaning that teams are going to get in the paint, which is going to allow them to crash the glass because they're going to have short misses and they'll have bigger lineups than us if John Collins is playing the 5, and there's little rim protection there. I think you take the defensive losses with Brook Lopez and realize that you at least get another guy that can make threes because we desperately lack three-point shooting right now. I think you got to. You made your bed with Brook Lopez. You got to just play him. Or you play Yannick at this point. You're playing the other young guys. I mean, what do you got to lose? So the not playing a center, I think we might have to go away from that. We also just need more guys that can score because Kobe Brown, I like him, of course. He's a homegrown guy, but he has not shown any NBA talent individually. I think he's solid at a lot of different things. Like, he can make some open threes. He actually can pass the ball. He can rebound a bit. He can handle the ball a bit, but he doesn't do anything great or even good enough to show that he's a rotation player on a win now team. And right now, we're still trying to win now. If it was 19 minutes, 2 for 5 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3. He had a fast break dunk, but 5 points, 4 rebounds, 1 block, and 2 turnovers. We need him to knock down some open shots. He was a minus 13 in 19 minutes. And I'm not saying that completely checks out, but he wasn't good in my opinion. And then Kobe Sanders, he was the worst in the plus minus 15, only played 9 minutes, was 0 for 2 and 0 for 1 from 3, had 2 rebounds, 1 assist, and a turnover. With Kobe Sanders, I mean, he's learning how to play NBA basketball. I just think it's hard to be right now. Cooper Flagg, let's use Cooper Flagg. He's the number 1 pick in the draft, right? So it's a bad example, but when you have that kind of this is real development for him, is basically leading this team, accepting that they're not going to win right now because their stars aren't playing, but he's learning how to win games late and how to navigate these things with extended stretches and a green light. Obviously, Kobe Sanders and Kobe Brown aren't going to get that, those kind of privileges in their careers, but if they were on a team that was okay, you know what, we're developing, we know we're about to lose, then they would get much more run and they would be able to experiment a lot more, and it wouldn't feel like their mistakes were as detrimental, and they would be able to learn as well. They play freely. So I'm not going to the young guys, the fact that we're playing these guys right now shows that we've really failed. Of course, we have the DJ injury, the Bogey injury, and the Beal injury. That's 3 injuries in our 11. But all we really need after that is one guy, and that should be Kobe Sanders or Cam Christie. However, what's cooked us is Brook Lopez is not even playing right now. So, Chris Paul, let's talk about him for a sec. 11 minutes played, a donut, 2 rebounds, 3 dimes, 1 steal. Only positive was no turnovers, 0 for 3. He got his normal pull-up jumpers coming off screens that he's always hit his entire career, and he missed them. I don't know what to say, because if he's not hitting that, let's not even get to start talking about his defense. And I'm going to have to call him out, because this is a basketball show. I got to call out even my favorite player. Dude, he cannot stay in front of a parked car right now, whether it be guarding the ball in isolation. The only time he does okay is when people try to back him down. He's able to poke the ball away and get crafty with it because he's strong. But he cannot stay in front of the ball, whether it's isolation, whether it's point of attack, or the worst of all, in transition. Even when he's back, he gets blown by because when dudes have a running start, he's not about to take a charge at this stage. He's not about to try to guess where they're going and try to go for a steal. He's just getting, beat, and he's not really boxing out. I mean, and then he is a mismatch, though. I say, when he's holding his own, he's getting posted up. Sometimes, half the time, he gambles even on those post-ups. So, he's not offering anything of value defensively except for maybe a couple of steals here and there. He's been poor defensively for a couple of years now. But now he's going to be the worst of all because he's the oldest of all. So, if he's not hitting and he's not consistently making plays on offense, he's a complete net negative. Complete. And I love the guy. But that has really hurt us as well. And look, I tricked myself into taking the nostalgic angle with Chris Paul and being like, oh, he was 82 games with the Spurs and this and that. He'll be good off the bench. But what I really, really neglected was my initial gut feeling was we don't need Chris Paul because we're already old and slow and we're doubling down on old and slow. Sometimes, I let my fandom get in the way there. So I'm going to take my L on this one. But I still think Brook Lopez is not that much worse than I expected. I just really believe that people thought a little too much of his defense at this point. His offense is what it is. But We need a lot more out of our role players. And then Chris Dunn, 6 points, 3 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals, 1 turnover on 3 for 7 shooting, but was 0 for 4 from 3. He was perfect from inside the arc, but he was 0 for 4 from 3. Chris Dunn is who he is. It is what it is. I'm less mad about the threes and more mad about he's gambling on defense constantly. I don't know if it's because he's trying to get his steal numbers up to, make a case for defensive thing, but it's not working. He needs to stay more solid. He's gambling far too much. And granted, like in the first half, there were some moments where Kawhi and John Collins and Chris Dunn got their hands on the ball, like when a guy turned his back or when a guy, coming from the blind side. But it's consistently getting us into trouble, and it's part of why we're leaving so many teams open for 3, and we're so poor guarding the 3. We're constantly gambling, and and Chris is usually guarding guys in the perimeter, so he's gambling off of shooters. He's getting burned a lot, and he's got to chill with that because it's not what made our defense great last year, and I wonder if Jeff Van Gundy's mailing that home. He must be. So we're not getting enough out of these guys. Let's take away Collins, Kawhi, Zoo, and Harden. Let's count up how many points everybody else had. I already counted it up. 11 points. The rest of our team had 11 points. That does matter. And I don't like being the guy that says it's everybody else's fault, because it's not. So we're going to talk about Harden now. Harden had 29 points, 8 rebounds, 11 assists. So he almost had a triple-double, but he had 7 turnovers. He also had a block. On 5 for 17 shooting, 2 for 6 from 3, and 17 of 19 from the free throw line. I love that he got downhill and he got to the line because I always ask him to do that. My thing is, if you're getting 19 free throw attempts and 17 field goal attempts, that means, damn, you had the ball a lot. And I just thought in this game, right, when we look at the matchups to start it, Kawhi on Najee, Zoo on Powell, Chris Dunn on Ryan Nembhard, John Collins on Koopa Flag, James Harden on Max Christie, and then you had Dwight Powell on Zoo, Koopa Flag on John Collins, Najee Marshall on Kawhi Leonard, Max Christie on JH, and Nembhard on Dunn. And I thought the one thing I did like in the beginning of this game was that we were more intentional about going to Zoo early. He scored on his first post up. We were looking for Collins in transition, but it's still like as the quarter went on, when Kawhi went out of the game, it was a lot of Harden dribbling. And I was like, again, it was like he's got 9 points, but is he going to tire himself out? And I'm not saying he necessarily tired himself out, but a lot of these possessions, even, when Harden had that little mini heater in the third quarter when Kawhi went out of the game, hit a 3 to put us up by 8. And then towards the end of the quarter, also made some shots, and got to the line. He's taking a lot of risks with the ball, and a lot of these possessions where he's dribbling a lot, everyone's just standing around. And I've always talked about this with James. I think that can also contribute to his shooters going cold. Like, granted, they still got to make shots, but it doesn't help, in my opinion. Even though he ends up creating them a good shot, it's a lot of just dribbling around. And those possessions, you can hear the groans in the swell when he's doing it. And any basketball fan of a team would say that, because we know that just standing around dribbling and isoing a lot, the defense just sets and all eyes are on you, and it's tough. So, I mean, as far as James, he didn't shoot as many threes, which I was happy to see, but the turnovers, I have much more of a problem with the turnovers than the shot attempts. The turnovers is where it goes wrong, but I think with John Collins shooting 90% and Zubac shooting 66%, I think we should have gone to them a little bit more than James shooting so much. That was my personal opinion. But anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Coming up, we're going to talk about the minutes restriction, the complacency, and the big overall message. I got to tell you something about FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right. Talking about the Clippers' 114-110 loss, I think it mainly falls on the role guys. I mean, as I said, to have 11 points between 5 players is insane. I think Brook Lopez needs to be played again just for the scoring punch. Our three-point shooting just isn't great. It's very dependent on James Harden, honestly, knocking down threes. We don't have another like high volume guy with like Norm last year. And then obviously Kawhi is the only one besides James that I can rely on shooting well from three every single night, damn near. So we're not a great three-point shooting team. That hurts Harden, who's, creates a lot of opportunities for shooters. I would say we're a mediocre defensive team in the half court and awful in transition, like god awful. We have not completed possessions with rebounds enough this year. So those are just some team characteristics that came out in this game, and we fall off. I think as the game goes on, we have tired legs, and in the second half we can fall apart. But our offense falls apart, which then leads into our lack of defense as well. We just fall apart in the second half, which partially is tied to our age. But, as far as any second half adjustments, I mean, I don't have much. One thing I wanted to say about Zoo, by the way, is he keeps missing this shot where he comes from left to right and catches in the middle of the paint and puts up that push shot. He has missed that all season long. It's a lot different, it feels like, when he's rolling to the basket in a straight line or catches the ball just in that spot and he can just go up right away, or just, he's already kind of standstill as opposed to in movement. I think that shot is, he struggles with that shot that he takes that when he's coming from left to right. Just an observation. But I thought at the end of the first half, when Kawhi ended it on the bench, I was like, okay, we're going to have Kawhi in like a large stretch in the fourth. And like, I guess you can kind of say we had him in a larger stretch in the fourth. And one thing I did love about Kawhi in this game, like going into the second half, they started doubling him and he started shooting like right before the double came. And I think sometimes you can say, oh, you can pass it. Why should he pass it? Legitimately, instead of shooting the contested midi. That's what I was saying he should have done last year in the playoffs. So it's good. It's like he's adjusting, but also he's realizing that his team is not hitting threes. So I'm totally fine with all those shots. So I like that he was shooting over the double or like before it was coming. But yeah, the carelessness with the ball. John Collins can't stay in front. Kobe Sanders and Kobe Brown are still, I wouldn't consider any of them very good defenders yet. I think they're decent, but they're still learning, NBA defense. And then James Harden is James Harden. So all I'll say is about the fourth quarter, Kawhi was taking over, and then he had to come out of the game. So just to talk about the minutes pattern real quick, Kawhi Leonard entered the game at the start of the fourth. Typically, he would be playing the entire quarter, but with the minutes restriction, that would not be the case. So we were up 94-91 with 6.5 minutes left, and Kawhi Leonard gets taken out of the game, right? By the time he comes back in, the score is 101-100 Mavs. So a 4-point swing. Now, you can be like, that's nothing, dude. In that point of the game, it is. And he sits out from 6:30 to 2:30. Your best player in a must-win game. And then he's broke when he comes back in. Broke. Missed that 12-footer with a minute and a half left. And then the really clean look he got when we were down by 2, when he had that spin move against Klay Thompson. You can't ask for a better look. Bricked that one. And then James Harden went to the basket and missed a layup in traffic. It was disappointing. But all I'll say is this. Kawhi played really well. But the minutes restriction thing is really hampering us. And there was one moment where he walked to the scorer's table with like 3.5 minutes left, and they told him to go back. It's almost like he can't get 30 minutes. And that stuff is really not just hampering us now, but it's been hampering us. And then Ty Lue after the game, here's what Ty Lue said after the game. I'm sorry, but we're going to end this with a grand finale. That's what we're going to do. We're going to end this damn episode with a grand finale, because at some point, things need to be said and things need to be done. Ty Lue said after the game, we got to stay with it. We got to play better. Simple, sweet, and to the point. You know what the problem with that is? It sounds very defeatist. It sounds very no urgency because I can already tell the tone in which he said it. Ty Lue, his lackadaisical approach has gotten tiresome, has grown tiresome. It's the players seem to not really be responding to him just based off the way that they're playing. Just based off the way that we are playing basketball, it does not seem like our players are really responding to him anymore. But beyond that, this is it, guys. This is it. I've been yelling into the clouds for 2 years about that we should have blown it up after 2023 and started to use that last season at Staples Center to get everybody invested in whatever the new era of Clipper basketball would be, and then go into the Intuit Dome enjoying something. But no, Ballmer wanted to go into Intuit with stars, and we've doubled down, and now we're in this position. For those of you saying, why would we, tank? We don't have a pick, and OKC's going to get it. Dude, the OKC pick, that thing is done. It's finished. We've already built a potential dynasty with them. Them adding another player doesn't mean anything because we're not going to win the championship for the next couple of years regardless. At this point, this is OKC's time. We lost the trade. Now let's focus on getting better now and for the future. Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, you gotta hope that they continue to play well and then look to trade them. And I'm being dead serious. It doesn't matter. We turn this around and do what? We make the play-in and lose in the first round again. Like and we'll be lucky for that to happen at this point. I think we can make the play-in. I wouldn't, in a 2-game situation, if Kawhi and Harden are healthy, you never know. And we still got a lot of season to play out. But what's the point? We don't feel like a good team. It doesn't look like I'm watching a good basketball team. DJ can come back. Kawhi can be off restriction, continue to play well. Zubats can play a little bit better, look like his old self. I mean, we could be a solid team again. I wouldn't doubt it. But, what's the point? What's the point? Why are we wasting everybody's time? We got to trade these guys, man. And I'm willing to trade Zoo, too, if that's what it comes down to. And I'm not, by the way, for anyone that's saying I'm giving up on this team, I never believed in this team. I'm not giving up on the Clippers, though, as a franchise. Duh. I'm in it for life. But I just want us to win a championship before I'm dead, and I think we need to move on. And it's not going to happen until Ballmer looks in the mirror. And Ty Lue can go as well. I'd rather not have a lackadaisical, casual coach, for this new era of what's going to be hopefully young, energetic basketball, even if we go 10-72. I'm just done with this. I'm done with this. The fans have had enough. It's lifeless basketball, and the minutes restriction, the merry-go-round with Kawhi. We don't know when the minutes restriction is going to be gone. It might be next, but we have a 5-game road trip. Do you want to know who we're playing on the 5-game trip? The Heat, who are playing very good basketball this season. The Atlanta Hawks, who already beat us this season. The Grizzlies, who just beat us. And then the Wolves and the Rockets. And then we come home to play 1 game against Memphis before playing the Thunder, Lakers, Rockets, Blazers, and Pistons. So good luck. At this point, I don't even care if we lose, because if we do, we're one step closer to them realizing that this is sunk. And I think it's better when you have Kawhi and Harden playing well to trade these guys. And I don't know what people are going to want for Kawhi, but Harden, he can still help a team that needs a ball handler, or a team that maybe feels they're one ball handler away. Maybe can take the swing, but what will we be getting for him? That's the thing that might also. So, the $1 million question is, what is going on behind the scenes? Are they taking calls? Are they calling? Are they looking into it? Because we're 5-15 through 20 games. Everybody says wait 20 games. Oh, well, we've waited. And again, it goes back to what I said. We didn't even play what I felt like was that bad, and we didn't win against that team. So that tells me how far off we are. Kawhi can come back off restriction. And Zubats can play a little bit more like his old self. But we're going to be without DJ for a little longer. I think Chris Paul and Brook Lopez are who they are. I think Nico Batum is who he is. I think we overestimate, and then we put too much stock in a Beal. It's time. It's time. It's been time. I've been ready for a change. And I think after the game, when I talk to fans, people are starting to be in on it too. So eventually, and this is the reality, is Clipper fans need to be okay with sucking for a little bit again. Because it might be that. Are you okay with it? Because we suck now. That's the thing. So if we're going to suck, we might as well move on and just do what we can. Because I don't know if Kawhi Leonard's going to increase in value. He might in the next couple of weeks, but after the season ends, hell no. Unless he goes off in the playoffs that we might not even make. Like we prefer that we trade him midseason after like a good stretch as opposed to we miss the playoffs. But I don't know if anybody would want Kawhi, so I don't know. It's a really tough situation, but it seems like more fans are trying to be on board with blowing this sky high because I think at this point we need to. We've been needed to. Our Clipper fans ready to suck for a little bit, potentially. I think a lot of Clipper fans wouldn't care as long as we play hard and have something to look forward to in terms of the future we're developing. But you know who I think has the biggest problem with it? Ballmer. And that's what it's going to come down to. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for all things LA Clippers, LA sports, and NBA. Of course, I've been to 7 games this season, gotten thoughts from the fans for all of them. You can go to Dime Dropper to see that. And of course, Locked On Clippers. I see we're 200 away from 8,000. Let's get that number up before the end of the calendar year. I think we can do it. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers.